Plant improvement and biotechnology. Objectives of the lesson. At the end of the lesson you should be able to know the following. Plant improvement. Description of the methods used for plant breeding, selection. Crossbreeding/hybridization, hybrid seed, and mutations. The use of gene mutations by plant breeders to improve plant production. Biotechnology. The concept, biotechnology. The advantages and disadvantages of genetically modified crops/plants, GMOs. The characteristics of GMOs. Examples of genetically modified crops in South Africa, for example maize, BT maize, and cotton, BT cotton, etc. Introduction. Previous content covered in Term 3 must be linked to the current content. Asexual reproduction. The purpose of the following lesson is to discuss and understand the following content: plant improvement and biotechnology. Concepts and skills. Plant reproduction. New terms for this week. Apomixel, process by which seed is produced asexually. Cultivar, a plant developed and maintained by cultivation processes. Mutagenic agents, agents such as radiation and chemicals used to induce a mutation. Mutation breeding, process by which mutations in traditional plants are brought about so that new, improved species emerge. Gene, piece of DNA representing a specific phenotypic trait. Genetic manipulation, human intervention that alters DNA sequencing. Transgenic plants, plants that are altered by the addition of a gene. Manipulation, ingenious treatment or change of material. Recombinant DNA, DNA from one organism combined with DNA from another organism. Transgenic organism, organisms formed by the transfer of genes. Plant improvement. Selection. Plants with the best characteristics are selected for seed selection and reproduction. The purpose of selection is to improve the quality and yield of future plants. Selection methods in plant breeding are based on the reproductive mode of plants, in other words whether reproduction is sexual or asexual. Mode of reproduction affects the genetic makeup of the offspring. Sexual reproduction ensures genetic variation in the offspring. This means that not all plants will look the same. You then select the plants with favorable characteristics and use them to grow improved plant crops. Asexual or vegetative reproduction produces a new plant that is genetically identical to the mother plant. When seed is produced in an asexual way, it is known as apomixy. Apomixy ensures that parents and offspring are exactly identical. Examples of selective breeding. Selection of plants that reproduce sexually. Selection of self-fertilizing crops. Self-fertilization is more effective for plant cultivation. Less genetic variation and thus highly adapted plants are produced. Examples: wheat, rice, soybeans, peanuts, and tomatoes. Mass selection. Plants are selected according to their visible characteristics, phenotype, and performance. Seeds from the selected plants are stored in seed warehouses for the next generation. This method is used to improve the overall population through positive or negative mass selection. Mass selection is done annually for a minimum of 3 years, on the same plant. The plant or plants that do not meet the requirements during the cycle are discarded. The time and season of selection are very important when doing mass selection. The reason for this is that the selection can only take place after the plants have shown their visible signs. The plant selected should be monitored in the next growing season for growth abnormalities, leaf deformity, and viral infections. Selection of cross-pollinated crops. Cross-pollinating plants have distinctive reproductive properties. Each plant receives pollen from a large number of individuals, each with different characteristics. These populations usually show a high degree of genetic variation that is maintained by the free flow of genetic material between individuals within these populations. The purpose of the selection process is to identify the most productive varieties in the population and to build on them. The plants that are not productive now are thrown out. Selection of crops that reproduce asexually. Asexual reproduction includes all forms of reproduction where normal reproduction has not taken place. Crops are clearly different from normal seed-producing crops. Clones are made with exactly the same genetic composition as the mother plant. Superior plants are selected and propagated vegetatively to develop stable crop populations. This unique feature of asexual reproduction has already helped to develop a number of cultivars of vegetables and fruits such as grapes, apples, pears, and peaches. Reasons for selection: ability to produce high yields or better crop quality. Beauty, many horticultural crops. Better taste and nutritional value. Resistance to pests and diseases caused by viruses, fungi, and bacteria. Drought resistance. Adaptability to different environments and climatic, soil or other growing conditions. Higher herbicide tolerance. Efficient use of water and nutrients. Hybridization. With hybridization, several desired characteristics of different plants are combined in one plant. Two different but related plant species are crossed. One variety of wheat can be crossed with another, and the offspring will remain wheat. Hybridization is followed by the selection of plants for desired traits. The offspring of the first cross are called the FL plants. It is tested for the desired properties. The plants with the best results in terms of desired characteristics are then inbred to produce pure bread. Homozygous plants. These plants are propagated to produce seeds that can be used for the production of the new plant. Variety. Hybridization helps plant growers to create plant varieties that produce more seed. Produce plant varieties that bear more fruit or other plant parts for consumption. To produce plants that offer better resistance to cold or heat. To produce plants that grow better. Mutation. The purpose of mutation is to improve crop quality by improving genetic variation and heritability. Mutation can be artificially induced using agents such as radiation and certain chemicals. The desired mutations are then selected and allowed to reproduce sexually or vegetatively to create a new crop variety. The new cultivar is tested by testing the offspring for the desired traits. Environmental factors influence the selection of mutations that will survive and reproduce. Desirable traits that do not occur in nature or that have been lost through the process of evolution can be induced. For example, if there are no disease resistance genes, plant breeders can try to develop them artificially. Through mutation. Benefits of mutations. It provides breeding material for conventional plant breeding. It contributes to the conservation and use of genetic resources. This contributes to food security. It provides additional income for farmers. Desirable properties, for example disease resistance, can be induced. Plants can be mutated to bear more fruit, flowers, and seeds to increase production. The cultivation of tomatoes concentrates on resistance to diseases and pests. Mutation of genes to improve plant production. To produce the desired plant, scientists do genetic modification of plants by adding one or more specific genes to a plant or by removing a gene. A gene is a short piece of DNA that represents a certain trait in a plant. DNA consists of many genes. GM requires human intervention in a laboratory and cannot occur naturally. Gene sequence in DNA is altered by adding or removing genes. Genetic manipulators add a foreign gene to the host DNA by one of two methods. Injection of foreign DNA. Biological method where a vector such as virus carries the gene to the DNA. Plant that arises as a result of an addition of a gene is called a transgenic plant. Biotechnology. What is meant by biotechnology? Plant biotechnology is the application of technology to change plants or make new plants. Techniques such as in vitro or molecular technology are used to enhance plants and enhance desired properties. New flowering plants are generated by means of tissue culture of isolated organs, pieces of tissue, individual cells and protoplasts. These plant parts are grown in vitro under sterile and strictly controlled conditions. New seedlings develop, which can be transplanted into the soil. Benefits of GMOs. Less harmful pesticides are used. Yields are increased. Crops have a built-in resistance to pests and diseases. Fewer crops are lost due to insect damage. There is a drop in input costs because fewer insecticides are used to control insect pests. Crops are resistant to many different environments and climatic conditions. The shelf life of fruits and vegetables is improved. Crops have a better flavor, color and texture, as well as a higher nutritional value. Less labor is required because less insecticide must be applied. Food security is improved due to the improvement of the quality and quantity of crops. Disadvantages of GMOs. Food security can be compromised due to unexpected side effects that cause allergies. The crops may also contain toxins. When resistance to pests and diseases is built into plants, other non-target organisms can be adversely affected. GM crops have a negative impact on biodiversity. Some groups or individuals object to the use of animal genes and plants. Genes can possibly be spread from GM plants to other wild plants. It is too expensive for poorer, developing countries. Characteristics of GMOs. Resistance to insects and diseases. Resistance to weeds. Drought resistance. Higher nutritional value. Crop yields increase if crops are resistant to diseases and attacks by insects. GM crops stay fresh for longer and therefore have longer shelf lives. It is safe for human consumption and scientific research has been done on it to determine their risk to human health and the environment and new, improved varieties can be produced faster than in the case of conventional breeding methods. Examples of GMOs in South Africa. GMO crop GM property. Corn, insect and herbicide resistant. Cotton, insect and herbicide resistant. Soybean, herbicide resistant. Fries, insect resistant. Potato, insect resistant. Sugarcane, resistant to microbes. Cassava, improved starch content. Activities/assessment. Learners can also use the following sources of information to do activities. Relevant Grade 11 textbooks. Grade November 11th exam papers from previous years. Consolidation. The lesson deals with the content as set out in the CAPS document. Learners who understand the content must apply the necessary knowledge and skills to answer questions. Based on the curriculum content, learners are able to use the knowledge and skills as a good basis for progressing to the next topic. Weed management and control.
Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more future educational videos.